Hi, my name is Carroll. I want to talk to you a little bit about my strategies for keeping testosterone and growth hormone and IGF-1 up and estradiol down, which I think is absolutely the key to life. The strategy that I use, first of all, involves a product that I created for this purpose, and it's called the Life Kick Time Machine. This is kind of what it looks like. This is an open bottle because I use it. The Time Machine is designed to reduce an inflammatory condition that seems to rise up in the Leydig cells of men beyond age 30. So we know that we have a testosterone decline in men after age 30 or so, and the question is, what causes that? Well, I traced it down to a rise in cyclooxygenase 2, and which increases another inhibitory protein called DAX1, and that inhibits steroidogenic acute response protein, which is what you need to bring cholesterol into the Leydig cells to make testosterone. So there's a process going on that causes our death. And by stopping that process, I felt that we could prolong our lives. And so I created the Time Machine to reduce this inflammatory condition, and it works. I've seen plenty of blood tests where we know that for 50 and 60 and 70-year-old men, we can raise T levels very significantly. The other strategy, besides just taking the Time Machine, is adopting the right diet, because I also realized that our diet was at least partly responsible for this rising inflammatory condition that we call, it's not acute, it's called chronic inflammation. And it comes from basically a lot of vegetable oils in our diet. So the diet that you adopt when you embark on this kind of a program to get your hormones right has to include getting off of vegetable oil-based foods. So that means no French fries, no salad dressing on your salads, you don't spray cooking oil into your pans, vegetable oils like Pam to cook with. You have to avoid these vegetable oils. The vegetable oils are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids, which we know increases cyclooxygenase 2 and other inflammatory cytokines in the body. So that has to be avoided. The diet that you want to adopt is going to be roughly 40% fats, 40% carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates, not the simple ones, but complex ones, low glycemic index foods, and about 20% protein. So we know that being on a very low carbohydrate diet inhibits testosterone production. I mean, you won't get the full production if you adopt a low carb diet. So you have to have some carbs. You just don't want the high glycemic carbs. For fats, here's the good news: you can eat lots and lots of bacon and eggs and butter. Bread with butter on it. I'm not real wild about the bread, but I honestly don't know what else to put the butter on, so I eat bread. I just make sure it's a heavy wheat bread. But the saturated fats, the monounsaturated fats, and the cholesterol from the eggs, for instance, is very conducive to raising your testosterone levels. So by taking the Time Machine and adopting this kind of a diet where you're eating 5 to 6 eggs a day, 5 to 6 strips of bacon every day, butter with toast, good meats, and complex carbohydrates, meaning vegetables, lots and lots of frozen vegetables, for instance, that you can heat up, or green leafy vegetables, actually both. You can have some fruit after that if you want to. But this kind of a diet works. It works. The last strategy, and I think it's very important, is the timing of your meals. We're not just looking for high testosterone levels. What you want to achieve is higher testosterone levels for long durations of time. And another thing that we know is that eating a meal plummets your testosterone levels. Anytime that you bring insulin up, and you're going to do that every time you eat, you're going to drop your T levels, for the next 3 or 4 hours. Even as little as a few hundred calories is going to drop your testosterone levels for several hours. So if you're the type of person that likes to grab something to eat every 3 or 4 hours or every couple hours all day long, your T levels are going to stay low all day long because you keep inhibiting this process down of making testosterone. So that's not really the correct way to feed yourself. What I'm advocating here is eating once a day, over, say, a 3-hour period, like let's say from 3 o'clock in the afternoon to 6 o'clock in the evening, you eat. And you eat the kind of foods that we just talked about, and eat as much as you want. I'm not talking about calorie deficits here. You can eat, you can pack it down, but then for the next 21 hours, you don't eat. The result of that is you're not going to do anything for the next 21 hours that is going to knock your T levels down. So not only will your testosterone levels come up from this program, but it's important to understand that they'll come up for a long period of time, 21 hours. So this is a great advantage. This gives your testosterone a much longer duration of time to work in the body and to create, you can get a lot of maintenance done. I mean, testosterone is responsible for maintenance in the body, and you can get a lot of maintenance done when you keep the levels up throughout the day rather than just having higher testosterone levels in the morning because you didn't eat all night. The fact is, if you don't eat most of the day, you can continue with the high testosterone levels, and that's very, very beneficial. You can see a lot of good dramatic health changes, health improvements if you adopt this strategy. So, once again, my personal strategy is I take the time machine. 2, I eat the right kind of foods with plenty of fats, and again, I'm talking about lots of bacon and eggs every day because those kind of fats and the cholesterol is very beneficial to create testosterone. Those are good precursors. And meal timing, I'm doing a 3-hour eating window and a 21-hour window without eating. And it's no problem. I have no problem with energy. I have no problem with hunger. It just doesn't seem to bother me at all. It's what we call fasting. And I want to talk about one other thing. Fasting versus caloric deficit dieting. Okay, there are some people out there that are using a dieting technique that is just calorie deficit where you're just not eating a whole lot, but you're eating throughout the day, very small meals. And what you're doing is by reducing your calories and by eating a lot of small meals, you're knocking down your hormone levels throughout the day. And you're not using your hormones to lose that weight. High levels of testosterone and high levels of growth hormone will cause you to burn fat. So if you knock those hormones down by eating constantly, even if it's just a little bit, if you're just going to knock those hormones down, then you're not going to use that particular tool to reduce fat. What you're going to do is you're going to reduce your body weight because you're starving yourself by not eating very many calories. And when you use that method, you will lose fat, but you will also lose muscle. And that's not something that most men want to do, is lose muscle. Muscle is pretty hard to gain, and you don't want to lose it. When you use a fasting technique that I'm talking about that does not involve calorie deficit, it involves you using a different mechanism. You're going to use your hormones to lose the weight. In order to keep those hormones up, you don't eat, say, 21 hours out of the day. And when you do it this way, your hormones are going to be much, much higher, and your hormones will cause you to burn off that fat without losing muscle. In most cases, you will actually gain muscle. If you go to the gym and work out a little bit, you'll actually get stronger using this method. So the fasting method works much better than a caloric deficit method if your goal is weight loss. And your goal, if you're overweight, your goal should be weight loss. I mean, we all know that the more fat you have, the less testosterone you're going to have, and the higher your estradiol levels. And this is a condition that's going to lead to poor health as you age. What you want to do is stay as lean as possible. If you can get down to that magic zone of 8 to 12% body fat, that's really where you should be. And then it's very easy to keep your T levels up and your estradiol down, and you're going to feel very, very healthy. So that's the strategy, and I've used that strategy for many, many people that are working with me with the time machine and with their diets, and I've never once seen it fail. It works every time. Lastly, I guess is just one other thing I want to cover is some foods to avoid. If you're trying to get your T levels up, you want to avoid cinnamon. Cinnamon is going to knock out an enzyme called the P450 C17, I believe that's what it's called, the enzyme that helps to convert progesterone into ultimately testosterone. Cinnamon will cause, if you took a blood test after eating a lot of cinnamon, you'd find that your progesterone levels are high and your T levels are low. So cinnamon is an absolute testosterone inhibitor for men. You don't want to eat that. I don't care how good people tell you it is for you. Find a substitute food because cinnamon is not where you want to go. You want to avoid foods that have lots and lots of omega-6 fatty acids, which generally is corn and vegetable oil types of foods. You want to avoid soy, that's a vegetable oil. Nuts, almost all the nuts are extremely high in omega-6 fatty acids. You want to avoid all kinds of nuts except maybe the macadamia nut. The macadamia nut is the only one that I've ever seen that is low in omega-6 fatty acids. So those are just some of the things that you want to avoid so that you don't sabotage yourself. But by taking the time machine and adopting a high-fat diet and timing your meals so that you're basically eating one meal a day and you're fasting the other 21 hours, I've never seen this not work for somebody. This program works very, very well. And what I've seen in terms of testosterone levels on this program for men around age 60 is 900 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter. That's astounding. You know, that's what you might find in a very, very healthy 25-year-old. And you can do it when you're 60 if you get the program right. So, thanks for watching. And I think this program will work for you very, very well.